You were a whistleblower for Project Veritas with Facebook, correct?
Yes. I worked at Facebook from 2017 to 2018, and actually at CPAC 2019 is when we debuted my whistleblower story originally.
That's fantastic. And can you tell us a couple of the stories that you broke?
So with Facebook, it was back then. They were trying to be sneaky about their censorship. So it was exposing the deboosting of prominent conservative pages, as well as wider plans to censor what they called trolls, but it was a thinly veiled term for conservatives on the platform.
Okay, great. And how did you get contacted with Project Veritas? How did that whole thing go about?
So I started seeing all this stuff when I was working at Facebook. I'm just doing my job. And then one day I see on James O'Keefe's Twitter account, because I was following him on there, that if you're on the inside of these companies, to contact Veritas tips at protonmail.com, which is their tip line. And so I wrote them an email, and it just kind of went from there.
And what was the blowback like once you got those stories out?
Oh, well, before the story even came out, I lost my job. I got locked in a room for 2 hours, interrogated by Facebook security.
Really?
Yes. Had them try to ask to hand over my personal cell phone. Obviously lost my job. Ended up in poverty, essentially, for a while, before I eventually went on to become an undercover journalist at Project Veritas.
So you're working with them now, right?
No. I worked for them up until the beginning of 2020.
Okay.
But I exposed a lot of things, and one of the great things I got to do is help tell other whistleblower stories. After we debuted my own, as well as going undercover in campaigns like Beto O'Rourke, Bernie Sanders, and exposing election integrity, all sorts of stuff.
All right, and you're doing great work, by the way. And you have a new book coming out, is that right?
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit about that?
So I actually wrote a book about my experiences as a whistleblower and an undercover journalist. It's called Impact, and it's coming out March 9th.
Okay, great. And where can people find that if they're interested in getting the book?
If they're interested in getting a copy of the book, it's available for pre-order on Amazon, and it'll be eventually available at other outlets as well, because I know some people are avoiding Amazon.
Okay, great. Can I ask one follow-up question that is very
absolutely.
interesting? What was the culture like at Facebook? Was it just openly hostile to conservatives, or was it more just in the policies and things like that? Like, what was the day-to-day like with that?
So it was, I'm not even exaggerating when I say that there was floor to ceiling leftist propaganda on the walls. I am not exaggerating in the slightest. That they would have these posters with leftist slogans, leftist messages all over the office.
So you didn't have to be it's one of those people with the insider files to really figure that out. You could have been anyone working there.
No.
And it's amazing there's not more of you. But
yeah, well, there's more and more who are coming out all the time.
All right. And where do you think that started? Do you think it's just the Silicon Valley mindset because it's in LA? Where did that bias come from? Is it coming from Mark Zuckerberg? What is it?
I think it does come largely regional, but I mean, it's starting, we see it even in our education institutions, where indoctrination has been starting, younger and younger, where people are getting fed these messages and really being steered towards a only one viewpoint way of life.
Right, and that's no good.
No.
And what do you think the way forward is with social media? Parler got banned, and now it's back. So they were like, make your own Twitter, and then they did, and they're like, well, you can't have that. What's the way out? Some people were talking about breaking up these companies. What do you think the best way is to get out of this mess we're in?
So I always describe big tech as being very much a leviathan. It's not going to be a one solution type of thing.
It's not just one company.
Right. So I think breaking up the tech companies is one place to start. I think repealing or revising Section 230 is another way. And it's going to take, like I said, it's a leviathan. So you got to cut off all its heads.
Now, when I hear, I've heard a lot about the breaking them up or changing Section 230, and the concern I often hear is then that it puts whoever's in charge of the government in charge of these tech companies. So now you go from Mark Zuckerberg deciding Facebook policy to, say, Nancy Pelosi having some government say in what Facebook does. How true is that? How valid is that concern? And if it is true, what are some ways to safeguard against that?
Well, and I would absolutely not advocate for people for like a government oversight board. That's not what I want. I don't want more government. But I do want these tech companies currently under Section 230, they are immune from legal liability. So that's very much a free market way of doing it. And then they are protected by the government. And so I want them to have to choose between being a platform and a publisher. If you want to be a neutral platform, then by all means keep your legal immunity. But if you're going to be a publisher, then people should have the right to sue you.
So just more clarity on Section 230.
Yes.
Okay,